I think did we talk about that the other day? This idea that you can fit a large language model,
Yeah.
smaller versions on a phone, on the device, and process it locally. I mean, that happens with Pixel. All of the voice processing is done on device, no cloud connection. You can do it just without any internet connection whatsoever. But the idea that you could have all of the world's knowledge on your phone is phenomenal and tied to privacy. That's a powerful concept.
Well,
the world in your pocket.
Will be
yeah.
It'll be a smaller model. It doesn't need to be the 79 billion parameters and things like that. It doesn't need to know the history of Indochina and nuclear physics. It doesn't need to know all that. But if you take the top 20% of a large language model and you can boil that down into, I heard the file was like 1.5 gigs of essentially all of the text, and they can compress it in and then have it run locally. Because what you see with all these LLMs is they take months and millions of dollars to train, okay, which is fair enough. But, we're at day 1, we're at day 0.5. Go forward a little bit, especially with the rapid advances that are happening right now. And we are guaranteed, in my opinion, to have large language models, basic ones, but running on our phone to do the basic stuff that we need. If you need anything better that it can't, boom, it can go off to Apple's data center, to that one that's got, 50 trillion parameters and has taken years and $1 billion to train. Perfect. So that's the kind of way I see it panning out in the disruption in the industry.
Yeah, I love that. I would be all aboard for that one. And to be honest, that's a category killer as well. It's like you would want the phone that has that. You absolutely would.
Well, this is exactly the thing. And this is why I'm sure Samsung will do it. And probably Apple will do it. And maybe, I don't know. I have a OnePlus. No one seems to know what they are.
Nice phones. Great phones.
They're brilliant. I love them. But, this is why we're going to see a very significant change in the way everyone does everything. I turn to ChatGPT before Google search a lot these days. I can't give you a number. I don't know what that number is. But if it makes more sense to ask a large language model, I will do that. And then some things, it just doesn't make sense, in that Google is a more linear, better way of finding something out. And since day 1, when ChatGPT was released, I was on it. I was writing about it. I've been completely addicted about it ever since. But normal people are too. Your average guy in the street is also kind of getting there and realizing that, hey, now I can get an answer rather than just a list of websites that may contain my answer or may contain a whole lot of spammy SEO optimized bullshit content. And that needs to die.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. That's some tricky territory for me as a Google employee. Difficult to have an opinion on these matters, but I absolutely take your point. I think the concern is, something that's been true of a lot of this stuff with the audio in particular. If that information is being drawn from the corpus, the world's data, and you don't have advertising against it or a subscription model, how does the person making that content make money? It's absolutely fair that they should. This is maybe come back to Web3, where we're talking about potential microtransactions. And one of the interesting things about ChatGPT and Midjourney is it's gotten people back into subscriptions for online tools, which I think in itself is quite interesting. So the idea that people are eschewing this model where famously you are the product and you're being advertised left, right, and center. All of that gets out of the way, and you just have this really clean interface. And what we were paying for our cable television or mobile subscription plan, maybe we have that for an AI, and maybe we have it for whatever creative tools we have. And we were paying it for Netflix or Disney Plus. Is this one way of financing where we do get our content and where we do get our search results from in the future? It certainly seems ripe for change, and I think we're going to see very interesting
100%.
come up.
I do pay for ChatGPT Plus or 4 or whatever it's called, but I only did that reasonably recently. And some of the guys in the office were like, "What do you mean you're not paying for it? We all pay for it." But they're like coders and they're developers, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I never felt the need to pay for it because I didn't have any of the I can't log in problems. It would always work fine for me. And B, I was happy enough with the data and output I was getting from it. But in the short while I have been using it, the quality is a lot better. You know, I don't get ChatGPT to write for me, but I get it to generate some ideas, or I get it to do spell check and grammar, which I'm, you know, not great at. So I think it's got some room for improvement. What I'm looking forward to most is when it has a longer term memory and I can feed it a whole load of my data and it will remember that. And if I ask it to write something, it will be in my style, or it'll know what I'm looking for. Or, well, you know, with plugins, it needs to know all of my personal information so it can go off and book me a restaurant or a holiday, or, you know, sign up for that visa or whatever it is. Without, we need to also get away from this. I need to put in the same shit like every time I go to a new website. That's ridiculous. And hopefully these models will enable us to get away from that.
Yeah. Well, that lends itself a bit towards, well, who you choose to authenticate. One of the benefits of signing in with Facebook or Google, you have the potential. I mean, I obviously avid Chrome user here, and I make a point of
me too.
Addresses are in there, so I don't have to do a lot of that stuff. And Google Pay was going to be a nudge towards that. And it's not got the widest rollout, but rather it is rolled out. It's not used as much as, you know, some people would like it to be. But it's a great way of just not having to share a lot of details with somebody, you know, buying something from some other country. You might not want your full credit card details across there. But we're bringing it back to Web3, and something I'm really taking with is this concept of self-sovereign identity, rather than have this version of you repeated across multiple different websites. You just have one core, like very fleshed out version of you, and then choose which aspects of it you want to share. I think just the most obvious one for that is if you're brave enough to put your measurements on there. When you go clothes shopping, is never having clothes that don't fit you anymore, because it's going to be impossible to buy them, because that data is shared with, you know, Next or whoever you buy your clothes from. Just knows what's going to be right for you.